Hello, everybody. It is me, Pacific. Oh, you're going to get tired of me. I want to put the boot in on Denver women in a very, very emphatic manner. I want to talk about a woman who's in her 20s, who's got long black hair, who is stunningly beautiful in figure, form, disciplined. She works for the courts in Yugoslavia. She's studying law. She is a drop-dead gorgeous woman with more emotional and mental maturity than most of the 20-something-year-old women are in Denver, Colorado. And I've been talking to her sometime about the lunacy of the posts of the women on Denver, Colorado Craigslist. And it's not just on the posts. I see it out there. The attitude that something about women born in this part of the country and raised think that they are God's gift to men, think that they have the right to be picky, think that they have the right to snub, ignore, mock, and make fun of us decent guys. She told me this. I responded to some of the Craigslist posts of Denver women. I got responses like, "You are bitter, you can't judge me, you are a hater, go F yourself, you are an idiot." These are women who say they are ladylike and are fat and ask of a man with money and no baggage. How many men who have their stuff together, are attractive and rich, are going to date a fatty with an attitude who can't stand to hear the truth? I'm sorry, but this is the truth, and these women suck, and let me be honest, if I was a man living in Denver, I'd masturbate to porn too. I read on so many posts, I can be picky, I want a guy who is 6 foot tall, at least. What is with them and height? My boyfriend is a bit shorter than me, and it isn't a deal breaker. Like, get over yourselves, fatties. And then she writes regarding my little experiment where I did the fake ad of a woman with all kinds of problems looking for a guy. And this is what she said: 50 responses for that ad you made. I can't believe it. But here in this country, I've never had a date with a white native guy, and guys are falling over themselves to be with such a woman. Unreal. If a woman has good income herself and can take care of herself, why is she asking for a man with a good income? I can't stand this. Understand, Denver Posts are all about it. I want to say something, viewers. Is this a national U.S. problem, or is this a Denver problem? I admit, when I was in Spokane, I told you fat women were posting ads, very obese, and this woman says, "I will not date a fat man, I find them disgusting." I wrote her and I said, "I'm sorry, I'm looking at your pictures and you're quite obese yourself," and I wasn't rude about it. She wrote back with the whole F you thing. Women here, Denver, Colorado, bitchy, moody, arrogant, look down their nose at virtually anybody, and yet when you actually look, if they actually find a guy to date, more often than not, they don't date a winner. You have in Denver the yuppies. You know, the wussy pussy guys that drive their SUVs and think they're tough because they have one hand draped over the steering wheel and their Starbucks in one hand, as they literally fly around me, cut me off. You honk at them and they go like this. You'll never see them get out and go face to face. You won't do it. They feel brave behind their overpriced piece of crap. The women that date or marry those guys are pretentious. It's all about materialism. It's all about look at me. We actually have a percentage of yuppies that inherited big retirement money and they don't do anything but have babies and dogs and drive around in their SUVs and clutter up the roads and think they're special. I told you about the Cherry Creek Mall women. Good looking until you get up close and see all the Bondo and the makeup and the breast implants, and they spent way too much money on the ugly outfit they're wearing. They think they're the cat's meow. And when I walked through there with an ebony date, every one of them stared, and it wasn't like, isn't that cute? It was more with hostile glares. I said to my friend I would love to get on one of the local Colorado news stations and say, this is what we, those of us outside looking in, see. They wouldn't air this story. It would make people in the city so angry all they do is write me or my lady friend off. I've done enough experiments. I've done it with myself. I have posted posts where I said I'm drug, smoke, alcohol, and crime-free all of my 49 years. I am slender, small-build male who has clean hygiene, who knows how to treat a lady, who is a gentleman who holds doors open, pays for the date. I have no debt. And I don't want to say I've never had responses, because obviously I've gone on a few dates here. But I've had a handful of responses in the past, mostly of women that I wouldn't even look at. Hugely overweight. Women with all kinds of problems. One woman wrote me that was living in a motel. Didn't give me any pictures. Kept telling me that I just need to call her or come by. And I said, you know what? I need to hear your voice. And then she got angry and wrote me back. And I wrote a post saying, beware of this woman. And I had several guys write me and said, oh, I actually met that woman. She's a head case. She wants money. She wants people to feel sorry for her. Let me say something about Denver. Because I actually like certain aspects of living out here. But when I talk about Denver people, and I mean males too, this is an idiot city. This is a city that you can be going along minding your own business and people will provoke. Let me tell you what happened last night. Hispanic community believes the 4th of July is any day of the year that they want to make it the 4th of July. They'll go and buy expensive Showtime fireworks, complete with the tube launcher and everything. An a-hole last night, I'm going to find him tonight. I'm going to get him, and we're going to call the police. And I called the police several times last night, and they couldn't find him. Somebody back here in one of the back houses would wait 20 minutes, go out into the yard, and I mean loud. Kept the entire neighborhood awake well into midnight. So I went to the back of the property, went through and cut through the neighbor's yard, and stood there in the dark, waiting. Nothing happened. I go into the house, happens again. When I lived in Denver before, there were Mexicans that would shoot off fireworks 2 weeks before the 4th, 2 weeks after the 4th. And there's a law here in Denver. It just says no airborne fireworks. Because of the fire danger, because of drought, because of dryness, because of idiots that shoot off fireworks and set roofs, bushes, stuff on fire. We've had fire on the back of the property because somebody shot it off and set the telephone pole and the juniper bushes on fire. I mean, literally charred them and burned them out. That was years ago. And the person who's doing this doesn't just shoot it all off and get it over with. He waits 15, 20 minutes. Right when you start to fall asleep. Last night, that's when you start thinking horrible thoughts. And I said, you know, God, it would be poetic justice if that guy lit the fuse and it exploded in his face and blew half his face off. And I happened to see it. And I'd say, wow, wasn't that fun? You've kept everybody awake. You're being a complete self-centered jackass in the neighborhood. And you don't give a damn that all of the rest of us have to work. I'm glad you blew your face off. I would love that. People would say, oh, that's not very Christ-like. Neither is that. I did get my sleep. I had to move to another room of the house that's an inner room where I couldn't hear anything. Tonight, I'm not doing that. I will go down there in my truck, or I will walk down there and have a conversation with one of my friends and walk back and forth in that neighborhood. And I don't care if anybody's looking. If somebody says something, I say, I'm going to find out. who's shooting that fireworks off, and I'm going to call the police on him. I'm going to sign a thing, and I will go to court. Because if you're going to wake us up and you're going to be a turd ball, the problem with society is not one person called. I know there's old people. People are afraid in the city to take a stand. I'm not. What is the guy going to do to me? I tell you what, if more Americans stood up against the BS that goes on in this country, if men would collectively stand up and say no to dating women like that, if men would say, you know what, I'm not even going to come on to these women. I'm not going to look at them. Yesterday I walked into business, a mother with 2 kids, strap thing on, breast showing, all of her back, good looking. Her one son gets right up between myself and the other lot guy and says, hello. And I'm thinking, what the hell? And I just looked at him and I'm trying to sign the paperwork. And he's right between me and the other guy. And the guy I'm working with says, hi, what are you doing? And I don't know what he was doing. But mother, who is dressed like a 2-bit whore, gets out in her big expensive Suburban with her 2 kids in tow. And I thought to myself, yep, wants to get attention, wants everybody to notice her. Isn't teaching your kids basic politeness that you don't just shove up between 2 guys that are signing the receipts for getting diesel fuel at a fuel outfit. Women in Denver are the highest form of white trash I have ever seen, even the ones with money. And what's funny is the lesbian women here. You either have the real butch or you have the closet scaredies that don't want anybody to know that they have these bi feelings. There's a weirdness here. When my Filipina friend and I went to Trax and I was talked into going and we did have fun and dance, but I said, look, we're not going to the LGBT. The club that says we're proud of this community. I couldn't believe all the good-looking girls there. They don't smile and say hi. They're not warm and friendly. These are the same girls that'll say TMI in a conversation, but yet it's okay to go in the closet and lick your girlfriend's cooch. We live in a funky world. Last night I watched a video where people were kicked out of Starbucks for sitting there being quiet. They had purchased tea, bottles of tea in the place, were asked to leave. That Starbucks has said that if you don't support the gay community, you probably shouldn't come to our business. Now, I don't hear that officially, but I believe it. And I'd love to get on the warpath and write every evangelical church in America and say that Christians, no signs, no picketing, just quit buying Starbucks. Let them feel the loss, because there's a lot of Christian women that spend money at Starbucks. I will be texting that to my ex today, said, you might want to be aware of Starbucks stand and go get your coffee somewhere else. When a beautiful Yugoslavian woman who would date me in a dead second minute if she wasn't involved with somebody and she was here or I was there, can look in and write these women and tell them her mind. I want a woman like that. I watch women on the roads. They will cut me off. No blinker. I honk. I've had them stop, yell, F you, scream and yell, hands in the air. There was a woman in front of me in a Subaru. I hate Subarus. I don't know what it is with women and Subaru wagons. They're what I call our eco-terrorists. You know, the ones that go green and spend all this money on designer food and spend more money on their dog than a fellow man, and they're going to save the planet because they walk in with their canvas tote bag, and yet they endanger my life every day. Somebody's in front of her, the light changes, person doesn't go. And instead of just giving a friendly tap on the horn, she's going, what is it with women and this? And I wanted to in my truck start going, but I thought, no, don't do it. Women in Denver are not what I call self-control. Virtually every woman I've met out here runs on emotion. I have watched fat, ugly women that are older than me in their little Kia Sorrentos. They barely fit behind the steering wheel. The light changes. I've got a 302 V8 in a truck that sounds like it has a pair. And I'll watch these fat, in public, shy, women that are not outspoken, put that pedal to the floor. Look straight ahead. And they got this mean look on their face. And I go, here I am with my hand on the mirror, relaxed, music up. I don't tear off. Women in Denver are crap. They're crap. But then I watch Colorado news and I watch the women on there, fake, pretentious, full of makeup. Ardell Arakawa, once a beautiful Asian, covered in Bondo. People feed off of this stuff. People look at these women and think, wow. And what does Denver do for their nightlife? Go get drunk. Go smoke pot. Go down to Lodo, you'll meet the flakiest bunch of males and females you've ever seen. Guys that think they're tough because they have beer courage. It's true. Loser guys that aren't even handsome, walking with a hot girl because they provide the keg, they provide the liquid fun. We as Christians have a different dynamic that because of the way the world is going, because of legislation like the U.S. Supreme Court, you can bet your bippy that persecution is going to come our way, and soon. Jesus said, marvel not that the world hates you. It hated me first. The world hates Jesus. And those same women will yell Jesus Christ, and they're not doing it in praise. And the first thing I noticed, they had when I moved out here in 95, there was what was called a shepherd's guide. A big, thick paper thing put together of all the area churches. Every one of them said the friendliest church in the Mile High City, the friendliest church in Aurora, the friendliest church in Lakewood, the friendliest church in Denver. And they all had their little Awanas and King's Kids and VBS and all their different programs put out on their sandwich board. So I visited these churches. 9 out of 10 of these so-called friendliest churches, we weren't greeted, weren't welcomed. I talked to the salesman who pulls $230,000 a year in truck sales. He is very good with people, but he also speaks his mind. He spoke his mind to an ex-boss I had at a dumpster company and let him have it. I walked into that yard yesterday to pick up a truck, and one of the guys who had trained me, bald-headed geekster guy, tall, skinny, a jerk. That guy was rude to me in the truck. He was very uncompassionate and told the boss all the stuff that wasn't true. And I said, you know what? And that's when it hit me. This is a good old boys club, and I don't fit. I had to go pick up a truck because they have a detail shop in tandem with their dumpster business. Guy gets out of the truck, stretches out. He's a string bean. Not a handsome guy at all. I walked across the yard. And just before I got close to him, the salesman says, because I had to go get keys, he says, you got balls, Pacific. I said, what do I have to lose? I don't care what these idiots think of me. I didn't do anything wrong. I think it's funny that they get to see me come into their property and pick up trucks. It's poetic justice. And all the tough detail guys, the guys that are fat, overweight, missing teeth, long hair, the kind of guys that you would think, what kind of a girl would date these guys? They're covered in grease and slime because they paint, polish aluminum rims, and do truck detailing, which is about $650 a piece on a semi. These guys are foul. These guys are crude. They're not handsome. They're not classy. And women go after that crap. They all got girlfriends. They all got how many people pregnant, all paying child support. I will tell you something. I have my faults, and I know I do. But when I took a tongue lashing for a year from a pencil-necked, stick-figure girl like Gypsy, who thinks she's all that in a bag of chips, to fatties in my break room at the other workplace, to being snubbed and ignored and laughed at about my thick glasses and told by fat women how scrawny I am. Scrawny, huh? I have dignity. And I find anger rising in me that says, you know what? I don't need to take this. I walked right across that yard and looked at Beanpole, who had trained, or I won't say trained me, but was supposed to. I didn't even look at him. I didn't look away in fear. I thought, pal, if you think I'm going to even bow to saying hi, and if he said anything to me, I'd say, I don't believe we have anything to talk about, do we? I'm here to pick up a truck. I'm the customer. And I will say something to salesmen today. Guys in Colorado think they're tough ASSs, the way they drive their Jeeps that they tore all the fenders out of, put their little stupid lift kit on it, and their little Geekster Nerf bars and KC lights, and they're flying past me, no turn signal, you honk, and they go like this. I'm a Colorado native. You're a Colorado idiot. I hate the people in this area. The guy from Connecticut who's in truck sales, who's an example of how to deal with people, said to me yesterday, he's going back east for almost 2 weeks, 10 days. I said, how is it back there? And he says, well, let me put it to you this way, Pacific. My neighbors, they're my neighbors. We get together. We do things together. The holidays, we're all together. He said, here in Denver, yeah, I know some of my neighbors. I said, it's not friendly here. He says, no, Denver sucks. This guy is over 6 feet. He's what I call a handsome built man. He's got a drop-dead gorgeous wife, drop-dead gorgeous now adult daughter. He lives in the upper middle class area of Green Mountain, which is very nice homes. I've done work on his homes, beautiful. And he said, Denver people aren't friendly. I said, they're very cliquish out here, very standoffish. He says, yeah. He says, when you have a friend in New England, you have a friend. I said, nobody here cares. And he says, I know. I agree. So this isn't just some moron's view of Denver. I work with drivers, pimple-faced Hispanic women that think they're all that in a bag of chips with a beer gut, who walk through the break room like they're so cool because they graduated from West High, North High, East High. We're born and raised here. Big deal. Congratulations, you were born on a town that's the head of a pin that most of the rest of the world's never heard of, doesn't know anything about. It's funny, when I talk to people overseas, they go, Denver, what's Denver? I love it. Can I shout that through a bullhorn? There's a big world out there. And it isn't just Denver. It's Hibbing, Minnesota. It's Virginia, Minnesota. It's anywhere USA. The Pacific grew up in a country that's all about us. That's all about our flag, our government, our Constitution. I wish they all could be California girls. Not me. It's always been about us. And the only people that wake up to this dynamic are people that go outside America's boundaries. And when they do, one of two things happens. They either get so scared where they are, they come running back, that they make ridiculous drama of kissing the runway. Oh, I'm so glad I'm back in the U.S. Yeah, me too. Stay there. Or the ones that go over there and go, my gosh, I didn't know there were other things that are better than here. Pacific, are you angry? Of course I am. Who wants to go through this? Who wants to be treated like this? The woman I'm talking about in Yugoslavia is a Christian woman, and she's not perfect, nor does she come off that way. She's tried to date white Christian men, and she says, no way. She's had a guy now going on and on and on who writes her and tells her, you masturbate, that's a sin. You'll go to hell if you look at porn. You'll go to hell. Show me where it says that in the Bible, spackage. It doesn't say that. It says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Well, you can leave him. Hey, dummy. Jesus says, I'll never leave you. It doesn't say, well, I'll leave you if you leave me. There's no caveat there. Americans, of most people in the world, don't understand correct grammatical context more than anybody else. Except when it comes to law. Except when it comes to somebody running a stop sign. But when it comes to the Bible, people don't understand grammatical context. And it just blows me away. People who are born again and Christians will not go to hell. Yeah, but Pacific, what if they live like the devil? If they live like the devil, they'll be disciplined by God. Read 1 Corinthians. He who builds wood, hay, and stubble, or precious gems and pure gold on their foundation, each man's work will be tested for what it is, burned in the day of fire. And his works will be burned up. But he himself shall be saved, except scarcely, as if though by fire. There will be Christians who go to heaven with no rewards. They have eternal life. They have a relationship with Jesus. Jesus said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. But we still have a choice. I have a choice. I have a choice every day to conscientiously sin or not sin. But God understands us more than we realize. God is not standing there going like this. That's the image of God that I grew up with because I had a mother who went like this. Be honest, people, we tend to view God the way we view our dysfunctional parents, don't we? How many people have pictured God as an old man with a gray beard peering over a balcony going, Do you think God came down that one of his servants wasn't getting sleep and blew that guy up that was shooting off fireworks? No, he didn't. When are you going to realize that God doesn't just come down and go, There are times he has. But often he gives people warning after warning after warning after warning, and then the judgment. God is so full of love that even I fall far short of that in my daily outflow. Christian women in Denver are not nice. I know people, I know couples that they're just religious. I know a woman who sings at Frozen Chosen Baptist Church, pretty blonde. She's the special darling child of the church. Her husband runs the soundboard. He's overweight, boring. They have daughters and kids. They're stuck up. They're not polite except to their little clique. And I see churches hosting, coddling this kind of environment. I'm divorced. None of those people will talk to me. Oh, he'll say hi once in a while. She'll never speak to me. Because Christian women believe the gossip that they hear instead of going up to the person and say, hey, somebody said this about you. Is that true? Oh, thank you for asking. I didn't know somebody said that. And no, it isn't. Would you like to hear my side of the story? Christian women in Denver are not mature. They will not hear the other side of the story. They will not tell the person that's feeding them with a line of bullcrap and say, hey, if I'm going to listen to you, we're going to do this in front of the other person. But since that other person isn't here, I don't want to hear it. Because I'm hearing your side of the story and I don't know if it's true or not. A Christian black woman I dated had no conviction. She told me she's tired of guys thinking only about sex, and yet she was coming on to me all over the place. Wanted to go out, wanted to be wined and dined, and then poof. I haven't heard anything from the last weekend I dated her. Nothing. Nothing. The Christian secretary at a church in Arvada. Rude. I treated her nice. I said, here's my situation. She still wanted to go to lunch with me and tell me how she admired me and on and on. And then when I refused to go to her pastor and belch out all my past to him that had nothing to do with that church, I said, "What are you, nuts?" I didn't say that, but I thought, no, I don't need to go to him about this stuff. I want to thank my friend across the ocean for writing these jerk women as a woman and letting them have it. You're bitter. You're a hater. F yourself. That sums up the prevailing mentality of the majority of women in Denver, Colorado. I am not making it up. Do you think that the Colorado News will report this? I'm in my school bus one day and I watch News 4 in their Ford Explorer rocketing through town, no turn signals, speeding. I'd like to see that. Coming up next, we'll show you one of our journalists or reporters in the way he's breaking the law with one of our company vehicles. The news loves dirt, but they won't deal with the dirt on themselves. That would be a news story. I would love to have a news channel where I go after them and say, coming up next, we're going to show you how Channel 4 behaves himself on the roads. Colorado is Flakeville. It's all about materialism. It's all about the SUVs. It's all about my dogs. It's all about Starbucks. The 4 basic ingredients of stupid. Go to the outdoors on a weekend and see how fun it is. Once you get out of the traffic and away from everybody, it's cool. But I hear more and more people saying, I'm sick and tired of going up and down I-70 with these SUVs and dueling diesel pickups, speeding, cutting people off, even in winter, driving aggressive. Denver is an extremely aggressive culture. Not just aggressive, but to the point of me minding my own business on the highway, that some truck is running out of lane, doesn't adjust to traffic. His lane is ended, but he punches it up. The dotted lines are gone, and he's going to pass me on the right shoulder and cut in front of me. No signal, no courtesy, and I honk, and I get one of these. Colorado people are the least intelligent of any state I have lived in. And yet the women want college degrees, want educated people, and I see no education in the way people drive. I watched Jen Air, a young white spacky in a truck, jerk around me in a service truck, company vehicle with the name on the side, I couldn't get the phone number, whipped around me on I-25 at about 80 miles an hour where it's 55, driving like a banshee. And I watched this with company vehicles all the time. Going home in Lakewood, I see contractors' pickups with their business on the side. We're the professionals. Oh, yeah. There's no blinkers cutting in and out of traffic. And I've called on these people. I called on a furnace, heating and air conditioning guy in a box van, one of those van front ends with the box on the back. Blew through my stop sign. I honked, and he looks at me, and I called. And I got him, and I said, I want to report one of your drivers ran my stop sign. Big pause. I said, hello, is anybody there? I'm listening. I said, yeah. I said, I could turn that in, and that's a fine, but I thought I'd call you, the company, and let you know. I'll take care of it. I know it was him, because he's a one-truck man. People don't even care anymore that their business looks like crap out there. Customer service is disappearing, folks. Disappearing. And yet I work for the sales team that does everything they can. When a customer has a truck breakdown or something goes wrong, they try to remedy it quick. They try to take care of the customer. When I talk about Denver, I'm not talking out of my arse. There is a mean-spirited, hateful, aggressive, in-your-face culture that the biggest thing for most of the population of this town is to beat somebody to the next red light and think that that makes their day complete. And if you show happiness out there, they'll all get in your face. I watched yesterday, I got out of my truck at Walmart. And as soon as I went to shut the door, I heard all these sirens, and I looked east, and I saw a building completely ablaze. I'm like, whoa. People getting out of their cars turned, looked at the smoke, and walked away. Girls. Nobody cares. One of our sales guys rides his bicycle up in the mountains. This is the mountains. He went around a corner, hit some gravel, and that's like ball bearings on pavement, slipped, went out from under himself, crashed. I said, did anybody stop? He says, oh, they slowed down to look and gawk, but nobody said, are you okay, as I'm trying to pick myself up. This place is awful. I would tell anybody, if you move to Colorado and you've got thick skin and you could care less about all this, it's a great place. But if you have warmth and compassion, this is the worst place you could live. The women I have dated out here are not romantic and sweet at all. They have no passion. They're dead. The only thing they get excited about is money being spent on them, and they take that for granted and can't even show manners after it. That the people I've gotten along with the best in Denver are not Denver locals. They're people from outside other states. It's funny, the same thing happened to me in Hibbing, Minnesota. The people I got along with the best was a girl from Montreal. People from other states said the same thing I did. This place is freaking weird. Denver is a very dysfunctional area. I cannot leave my house one day out of an entire week and not have some motorist just do something so ballsy, rude, brazen, and totally disrespectful to me as an individual, endanger myself and my truck, as well as breaking the Colorado driving laws as they're written. And what you hear people say now is, oh, don't honk, they could have a gun. Excuse me, he cut me off. I could have a gun. Why are we thinking that way? I could have a gun. Thank God I don't. I'm afraid I'd use it. Because people are so arrogant out here, the only way you can teach them a lesson is to literally teach them a lesson. One they'll never forget. Bullet right here. They'll never forget that. I don't want a gun. I'm human. I will not have a gun. I want God to be my protector. I want to say something about Mr. Trump. I don't agree with everything about him, but I will tell you this. I'm glad he said something about the Mexicans. NBC is a pussy news station, and it's not news, it's an agenda to brainwash and shape the way people think, mostly in the wrong way. Those people that go home from NBC Nightly News are making big fat piles of money and living more the American dream than anybody else, and those same turd balls are reporting to us a bunch of bullcrap and spin doctoring stories, and they want to stand up and champion the cause of Mexican people. Illegal immigration is costing this country in the multiple billions of dollars, taking away jobs. And I'm tired of the lame duck argument. Well, they're jobs that white people don't want. White people don't want them because they pay peanuts. We got rich people like the Bushes and others that hire illegals to maintain their grounds for $3.50 an hour. I'm being facetious. They're not being paid well. I'm not going to work for minimum wage and bust my back at almost 50 years old to take care of your dang estate. You can pay me $20 an hour, thank you, because I work fast and I do a good job. But instead you hire illegals, and the Republicans and the Democrats both look the other way on that. NBC, ABC, CBS, those aren't news stations. They're KGB television, American style. Katie Couric made a comment years ago that Christians should be thrown to the lion. She should have been fired. Did they fire her? Did they reprimand her? Of course not. Political correctness? My arse. When America's more obsessed over a damn football game and could care less that people are smoking dope, doing crack, and beating the crap out of their trophy wives while they buy their Escalades and walk around in their Super Bowl rings. Really? When we care more about the Britney Spears, the Paris Hilton, and the Kardashians, and people like that, when American women are obsessed with the next sitcom, Aquarius and Seinfeld in the past, and all these others, it's like, really? But somebody falls down on a bicycle. Somebody trips on the street and cars go by and there's something wrong with our society. When neighbors don't have enough couth to go, hey, there's people sleeping. You're breaking the law. Can you at least do it on the 4th of July? Shoot off the whole lot of stuff, get your thrill out and be done with it. But you got to do it day after day after day. I'm going to find you. I'm going to find your address. I'm going to stand right in front of your house and say, I'll wait here until the police come. And I'll point to you the house. And I'll point to you the clown doing it. I'm sick and tired of living in a culture of fear. You're the one doing wrong. I don't need to be afraid. And if I die, if that's God's will for me to die because you're going to get revenge, okay, I'm going home and I won't have to hear it anymore. Cool. If Americans would stop backing up and stand up to this crap, Americans should stand up publicly as the majority and protest the Supreme Court's decision, but they don't. Don't touch my SUV, don't touch my dog, don't touch my Starbucks. Oh, well, ho hum. America's setting itself up for the day when they start killing children in the streets, and America will just go, well, I've still got my SUV and my comfortable life. You know, don't bother me with that. We're heading there. We're heading there fast. America's the only country in the world that has just been galvanized for everybody to be so damn individualistic, and that's killing us. People won't rise up anymore. I'm not talking about smashing things and rioting. I do not ever encourage lawlessness to make a point. But I would tell every Christian viewer of mine, quit going to Starbucks. They're liberal. You're tithing a liberal ideology. And they have said, according to what I saw in the video yesterday, they made a statement that if you're not in support of gay marriage, then you shouldn't shop here. Then do what they say. You don't need Starbucks. It is not a need. You want your coffee, go buy MJB in a can and brew it yourself and go get a latte maker and away you go. There's even other coffee shops that sell it. McDonald's has even got some coffees that rival some of Starbucks. But too many people reason in their mind, oh, well, you know, I don't support Starbucks, but, you know, it's a sinful world. I'm just going to buy my coffee anyway. If Americans would collectively stand up and do something rightly, we could have the upper hand. Why is it that if I cross the border into Iran, China, or North Korea, I'd be in fear of my life? I could be thrown in a prison and never see the American soil or flag again. We let the Mexicans walk over our border, and when they have a baby, we don't do anything. Why can't legislatures say, look, you came over here, you had a baby, we're not calling it a U.S. citizen, we're not giving it paperwork, you go back home. That child will not be able to apply for benefits. You will not be able to apply for benefits. Why are we doing this? Hong Kong's doing something about it. China mainland women are doing the same thing. They get in their car, they hire somebody actually to drive them down into Hong Kong, ram them into the hospital when they have birth pains. They have a child, and that child now has Hong Kong ID, and Hong Kong is cracking down. You see, what's happened now in the U.S. is we're told that it's inhumanitarian if you don't give treatment to somebody or deliver their baby. We live in a very upside-down society, fraught with corrupt politics, fraught with CEOs and corporate monsters where everything's about money. Everything has to do with attorneys' lobbies anymore. But back to my original premise on Denver women. I am not, in 3+ years, I am not meeting good women here at all. They literally don't exist. And if they do, they're taken. The friendliest people at my church are not Denver natives. They're from somewhere else. The Asian woman lived in Montana. I would put Gypsy up against Lady in Yugoslavia. I'd put Gypsy up against Maharani, and she'd be epic fail going down in tattered rags compared to both of them. They're both prettier than her. Both have more intellect than her. Both of them admit their shortcomings. American women will not, cannot, won't do it. And yet they'll read a riot list against us males, what garbage we are, this. Kind of tells you something about our church culture, doesn't it? We talk about the grace of God, but you look at American women, they don't show the grace of God at all. The only time they show grace is to a poor little squirrel or a dog. But fellow man, you got to be kidding me. How did Denver get this way? I don't know. Women are combative here, very emotional. They'll cut you off. They got to pass you. They got to speed around you. Women are less likely to let you in traffic than males are. I kid you not. I even talked to the guys I work with. I said, do you notice that women won't let you in a lane of traffic, but a guy will? He goes, oh, yeah. And he says, I've noticed that women are very aggressive, really speeding, and they will drive crazy around you. I said, I know. Did you know that right now more aggressive accidents are being caused by female drivers? Teens up into their 20s, early 30s. Women are hotheads behind the wheel more than males. And it used to be the other way around, that women were more cautious. What is the bellows that's blowing the air on that fire? Our media, the feministic ideologies, the anti-God evolution crap. I love the woman in her SUV with her Starbucks symbols and her little fish with legs on it. Boy, you're really cute, aren't you? You really believe in evolution, and you think you're going to make a little slam back at Christians. She just wrote me and said I responded to about 10 posts. Wow. 10 Denver Craigslist posts and got nothing but attitude, denial, projection. You're a hater. You're bitter. If you date a Denver woman, you can bet that you're going to have a miserable life, unless you're just like them and you're used to that. That when you live in a certain environment, you do lower your sights and you start going, hey, you know, I've had the privilege of sitting up on a stage and living in other places, so I have things to compare it to and go, I wouldn't take these girls. They wouldn't take me anyway, but I sure as heck wouldn't want to be involved with them. And American men are to blame too. American men act overly, externally macho, but they're not really tough. That's all showmanship, peacocking, fan out all those feathers. Men think they're badass when they drink beer and they're with a hot woman. It's like, really? And hot women choose you because you're drinking and being a bad boy? What does that say about the woman you're with? Can I do this, Luther? Our society has pushed hot looks. Our society pushes drinking. They always show everybody having a good time with their Michelob and their Coors, but what they don't show you is the fights and the smashed windows and the smashed faces and the arrests and the DUIs, and the women after 30 years of heavy drinking look like a bell from the head down, bell-shaped, and all that beer went down here around the middle, and they got all their tattoos, and they got their cleavage showing, and they got their pit hair, and they wear their chaps and ride motorcycles. Yeah, that's more accurate. I mean, our industry lies to us. Remember the smoking commercials? Remember they used to have the pull knob cigarette vending machines? Kids go into a bowling alley and stick their money in there, pull the knob, and get Winston's, Marlboro, Virginia Slims, True. Good grief. And they always had these ads of a hot-looking woman. You ever notice the women who smoke heavily got all those little wrinkle lines all around here because they're... Remember the poster they generated in the 70s, Kiss Me, I Smoke, showed this withered up, nasty looking face. I thought, boy, that's accurate. Yesterday, the salesman told me I need to talk to that new guy that we just hired that's going to be heading up things. I just get a truck detail and he lights up a cigarette. I said, I told him not to do that. Smoking is horrible. I'm not being self-righteous against any of my fans that may struggle with it. My hat is off to you. I hope you can quit. But I've also noticed something about women who smoke. Heavy smoking women, there's something connected with that and bad persona. I saw it with that downer that I dated. I've seen it with all the women that I've attempted to date that smoke. They are in love with that cigarette to the point of obsession, more than you, more than God, more than anything else. It's crazy. Totally, totally crazy. You may wonder how I can talk so long. God's given me a gift. You may wonder why I don't have notes, because God's given me a mind. But God's given me something that's an advantage, even though I haven't seen it for years. That all the rejection, all the hardship I went through has enabled me to see more clearly our culture. That if I'd have gone through the good life, I wouldn't be commenting on it. I'd be part of the problem. Some people get on my channel and say you're so negative. Those are the people that love the culture and think there's nothing wrong with it. It's easy for them to say I'm negative. I'm not negative at all. I'm just accurately unpacking what I see before my very eyes. It's pretty sad out there. Denver women are awful. Denver women cannot take correction. They cannot take the mirror of truth and hold it up to themselves. They demand everybody accept them while they are blasting offensive towards any of us men and our faults. Not once did ever Gypsy say, oh, I struggle with this or that. It was you. The classic Denver woman and most American women today can only point in one direction. You. They'll never say, man, I've got to work on that. And you wonder about Christian women. How did they get that way? Because the pastors are coddling them. Men want to play white stallion and white knight in a church. They don't want to offend the women because they've been taught don't do that. I'll go as far as to say that pastors know exactly what they're doing, because if they can get enough women to eat out of their hands, they'll have a congregation. I say that if you're truly called by God, step on them damn women's toes regardless of sex, ethnicity, or religious background. That's your pulpit. That's God's place to speak. If men would stand up and tell American women, I don't care what you think, this is what happened, this is what you did, and this is wrong. We're being bullied into a corner, told not to lead. As a viewer of mine texted me last night, said men are being emasculated. It is true. That men are drowning in their alcohol, their porn, or drowning in their truck, and got one hand draped over the steering wheel, think that's the definition of a man. They wear their hat on backwards with their butt pants sagging and a crack hanging out. Men don't even know what a man is anymore in this culture. They just don't. Men don't know how to relate with one another anymore. They've redefined that. Oh yeah, the Super Bowl, we're going to have some male bonding time in our man cave. No, that's not a man. It's easy to drink beer and watch a Broncos game and yell and think you're cool. But how many men stand up and declare fearlessly, Jesus Christ, How many men stand up and comment on this culture and say, hey, this isn't right? How many men stand up and say, woman, you need to be quiet. You're crossing the line. How many men stand up to their own wives appropriately and say, you know what, I'm not going to tolerate that. You need to stop it. Denver, Colorado. It's sad. City of almost 3 million, the whole metro area. And it's a joke out here. I've had more women lead and flirt and tease me at work, out there, come on to me, touch me. I say, man, you know what, it'd be fun to go out. Yeah, I'd like that. You give them your phone number, you never hear from them again. Game playing. And then I work with a bunch of 40, 50-year-old Hispanic women, all of them divorced, all of them always talking crap about their exes. And then I know a Mexican woman who lives with one of these women. This woman was a Christian. This woman came on to me, and this Christian woman came up to me and said, you know, I live with her. She's awful, Pacific. That woman had come to me and said, I wish you'd rent in my basement. I said, no, I'm not going to rent. I got a place to live. Oh, but you'd be a good person to live there. After hearing this nice Christian Mexican woman and what she's going through over there, I'm like, wow. And this woman dates biker after Mexican biker. And all men are crap. I actually had an interest in her once. She goes, you're too young. She's 53. 4 years older than me. It's a polite way of saying you're not my type. And I realize that now. She's a bitch. She's awful to her tenant who pays her rent on time and doesn't cause a problem at all. She said now this woman's trying to force her to move out by stomping on the floor, slamming the microwave door, slamming doors upstairs, and making as much noise as she can. This is American women, folks. The epitome of maturity and self-control, right? Only in the office. Hi, how are you? I'm doing well. Bullcrap. I saw the way you drove on your way to work, lady. You're a jerk. You got major anger issues. I watched the way you drove here. American women are taught to compartmentalize themselves. Have you watched any of the commercials with women in it? Pick a light one. Yes, the reason I shop at Walmart. How many people actually talk like that? Our commercials are a joke. They're contrived. They're patronizing. They're silly. They're ridiculous. I can't stand listening to American females acting the part of an American culture. I will go and hit it on you to get rid of that. Fake. The one girl looks at the other. Yes, I like shopping at Walmart. Yes, because they have wide selection. How many women actually go out there and do that? Well, now they're doing it more and more because they've been trained that way. I'm like, shoot, I go in the store, get my food. I don't stand there and go, wow, what selection. Wow, this is premium quality. There's some bananas. Throw them in the cart. You got to see me when I shop. I love the stares I get. I'm kind of like the perfect storm, the fisherman. I go into the store, I open the walk-in cooler, or the coolers and the freezers, and I grab my vegetables and I toss them into the cart. Go down here, throw that in there. I stand on the back of the cart, take one foot and kick like a skateboard and go riding down the aisles, and I get up there and I'm out the door. People want to play games and be all uptight and block the aisle and get in the way and force you to say, excuse me. And then when you do, they give you this dirty look like, how dare you? I can say it. I live in Denver. There is something wrong with the women. There's a mental collective disorder here. I work with them. And as much as I like my job over there, part of me says, do you really want to go back to that bullcrap in the fall? Ethnic women in this country are talking crap about us, and people reacted to Donald Trump saying something about the Mexicans, as if Mexicans and Hispanics haven't said right in my own break room racial anti-white statements constantly that management has not done a thing about. We have 2 alpha females, 1 black, 1 Hispanic, that get a free pass. And that's not just me saying it. I cannot on here talk about the things that I know in my workplace. There's so much crazy stuff that goes on that I have inside information to. I'm like, why wasn't this person fired? We have Mexicans in our workplace that hire only Hispanic girls with boobs showing. We have a Mexican guy in a position that won't greet me on his own accord. He only talks to his own and is always making hits on the one hot Hispanic girl right in front of the break room, right in front of everybody. But we whites aren't supposed to say a thing about Mexicans, and yet I see blatant discrimination. When pimple-faced, long hair thinks she's all that on a stick, and I'm going, yeah, if you could look past your face, maybe, and your big beer gut. And she gets on the radio and she sounds like a whiny bitch. I cannot understand how these people get up every morning thinking that they're really special, and yet look down their nose at everybody else and they're not special. The God of this world has blinded their eyes. The Bible's so clear, and you see that. Denver's not a Christian city. We've had Promise Keepers roar through here. Mr. McCartney from Boulder, and that went, fell on its face. That most of the Christian men here, I don't want to spend one time with them in so-called fellowship because they're fake. They're caught up in SUVs and materialism and this and that, and their depth with God is about that deep. I will tell you something, for all the criticism I get on YouTube, I look at that mother in Northfield, somewhere in America, I'm assuming it's Michigan, who protested the reading of, or the encouragement of reading the unedited, unabridged version of the Diary of Anne Frank in a junior high school because she doesn't want her daughter exposed to this while her cleavage is showing. I thought, I'll bet you $1 million that woman, if she's a Christian, isn't reaching one person for Jesus Christ. Go to any churches in America where everybody's so religiously uptight and ask this question: how many people have you reached for Jesus? Oh, we can talk about VBS and all these decisions are made for Christ, but then those kids never come back to church again. God has allowed Pacific to reach 1, 2, 3, 4 people. A girl I dated, a guy that was two guys that were my closest best friend, and my cousin, to lead them to the throne of God. Not because I'm special, but God just chose to use me. And I often ask, why? God, I'm not worthy. That's it right there. Most people in America think they're so worthy, so entitled, so special that only they have. My ex-wife would do this all the time. My God. Yeah, he's only your God, right? You have this special little niche with him that nobody else does. That God looks at your ex-husband that he's a piece of walking trash while he looks at you and you're special. There's that mentality in our Christian culture, and I hear it from a lot of women. I hear it constantly. Let me tell you about a woman who came on to me at work. Yes, I had an interest in her. She started talking to me about Jesus. Wow, I like your views, massaging you, just pumping you. She's telling me about the guy that she married and how bad things are. And I said, if you ever need to talk, here's my phone number. Why don't you bring your husband to my church? Really? Really? I said, the pastor's talking about the things you're talking about right now. She was all gung-ho for it, gung-ho. Then all of a sudden, she come in the break room one day, won't look at me, won't say hi. And I'm like, Hispanic woman. They all do this. There is an MO with the women out here that are Hispanic. Pull on you, vie for your attention, make you feel sorry and empathy for them, and then boom, cut you off like that. I didn't call her. She'd say, oh, I'm going to call you because I want to talk to you. Never, ever did. Now she won't even say hi. She won't even talk to me. Last day of school, she pulls up and says something to me, and I pretended I didn't hear and walked away. I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry, but I'm starting to learn the Denver culture myself. You want to ignore me? You want to do that to me? Don't even. Because I'm not going to play the Hispanic game. I'm going to play Pacific's life. You want to treat me like that? I will shut you down. I won't look at you. I won't talk to you. I won't play pretentious. And if you get into my face, I'll say, excuse me, you were all warm and friendly, and then one day you cut it off, you're cold as ice. I don't play that way. If you want to apologize and you want to get real with me, then we got something to start with. But until then, I suggest you don't talk to me because you are a disgusting human being. There's a woman in there that got me a job at a private school 2 summers ago driving a bus. She was so nice and warm to me, Christian woman. We even went to the same church, nice to the Korean girl I dated. As soon as school started and I came in the break room, I'd say hi. She pretended she didn't hear me. And every day, including this last year, ignore me. I don't say anything. But then I thought, when she's by herself and there's nobody around, she'll go hi. And I thought, oh no. And I walked right on by. One day she corners me at my bus. She goes, hey, are you working this summer? I said, yes, I am. And I should have turned around and said, why are you talking to me? And I am going to address that this year. I'm going to say, how come when there's other people around, you ignore me? You're a Christian, right? You've talked to me about Jesus. Is there something, and I can't say this in the workplace, is it because you're Hispanic and you don't want to be seen associating with a white guy? What's going on here? Did Jesus come to set us free to do that? I don't care what any blasted girl in Denver has to say about me. I can write it all off and throw it in the trash can. It doesn't matter what they think about Pacific. They're wrong. Automatically. I know my heart. I know my work ethic. And women here aren't into heart. And a lot of them aren't into work ethic. And a lot of them aren't into basic manners. Most of them don't know how to drive or do know how to drive and don't care. There's an in-your-face, I don't care mentality running through this nation, and Denver is no exception, and I'm tired of it. Sick of it. I am so loving and giving and so passionate, and I get out there every day. Hispanic woman with a ring in her nose, fat, got the tough face, the kind of face you just want to go, I'm sorry, I'm just saying it. Go into a weigh station. When I went there before, you pulled up on a certain scale. Well, I didn't know they changed the rules, pulled the truck off, shut it down, go in. Who are you with? I told her. Well, that'll be $5. I said, we have an account. And then she immediately says, well, it goes by this name. Well, if you already knew that, why did you tell me that? Rude. And you need to move to the different scale. I said, which one, ma'am? The one over there on the far side, on the other side of that parked truck? Yes. You can just back up. I said, if you look, there's 10 cars and pickups behind me. I can't back up. You want to tell me how to get to that scale? And I thought, forget it. I walked out the door, parked the truck on the other scale, had to turn around and do crazy maneuvers to get on it. Went back in there and certifiable biatch. Yep, you can treat me that way because I'm white, right? But if your Hispanic hoodie comes in, oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I know exactly how this game works. And you little stupid ring. Every white woman, every Hispanic girl, every black girl that's got that ring right here, including alpha black female, top of the line bitches. Every one of them. They have a granddaughter. Same thing. He announced to me that she's coming to visit with her new boyfriend, and I thought, man, I got to let me know what day that is, because I got to find a way to get out of here and make sure I'm not here. Bitch, rude, stuck up, thinks she's all that. She is as plain Jane dowdy as they come, and she works in Boston, so she thinks she's big cheese now. Do you women out there even stop to think about how that feels to us men? To be spurned, ignored, looked at as a second-class citizen. When I work my butt off, when I have compassion, when I have feeling, when I have so much, and American women can just, with no conviction, no conscience, can just spurn us, ignore us, treat us like that. The fact that American pastors in America are not dealing with the absolute diabolical affects and spill off of feminism and what it's doing even to Christian women. The fact that they're so silent about that and proper dressing, the fact that they're so silent about women with their entitlement mentality, the fact they're silent about the list, a laundry list length of women's sins, and yet beat on men for lust over and over and over. And I agree with the lady overseas. If you want to condemn us men for masturbating at porn, you might want to take a look at something. It's easy for you to just blame everything on us males and say, well, you're pigs. You're supposed to use self-control. So are you, lady, when you're in your car. So are you with your manners. So are you when you look down on a servant of God, who God actually gave me a pretty dang decent body, and you're looking down your nose at me, and then you get mad because I won't date you because you're obese. You got to be kidding me. Obese women are bad relational decisions. Even my friend and I were chatting yesterday on Skype, and she said that. She said that fat women would spit in her face, make fun of her, choke her around the neck when she was a kid in Yugoslavia. Let me tell you what fat women have done to me. Sprayed perfume in my face in junior high. Becky. She was the fattest, grossest, smelliest girl in the school. I never did anything to her face, but inside I was like, wow, she is one mean, nasty girl. She sprayed perfume in my eyes on the last day of school. My eyes watered so bad. I was so scared I didn't do anything. I had a fat woman who was our title clerk get into my face at a truck dealership because she started talking about my boss. I went to my boss and said, you know, Kathy is saying all this crap about you. He says, you're kidding. And I said, no, every day I go over there. She said, oh, so you work for used truck trailer trash over there. We're all the same company. She's the title clerk for them in the new truck sales, all the same company. I said, man, I can't believe you just said that. The boss told her, the general manager came to her and said, don't talk to Michael again. And don't be saying this stuff. General manager was out on vacation for a week. I was in an Isuzu truck putting floor mats in it, cleaning up the interior. So my butt was facing the driver's door and I was head into the cab. She comes in right behind me, shoves me, shuts the door, and starts yelling at me in the cab of this truck. Now I'm enclosed. And I grab the door. She pushes the lock down. I said, what are you doing? I said, did you hear what the boss said? No, I want to talk to you. Why did you turn me in? I said, I'm going to report this as soon as I get out of this truck. I went right up to my boss and told him what happened. He said, she cornered you in the truck right in front of the building? I said, yes, sir. She was fired within 2 weeks. Men, if you stand up, if you keep standing up, we can push back against this female bulldozing tide that's rolling all over us. Oh, it's going to be tough. But men need to claim their balls again. Because most men have taken them off and set them on a shelf. Actually, they're hanging them on the back of their pickup. Sorry, that doesn't make you a man. They need to be between your legs. You need to tell women, I don't care how pretty you are. I don't care who you think you are. I don't care what the laws say. I'm going to conduct myself in a way that I don't get in trouble with the law, but I'm not going to put up with this from you. You want workplace equity? You start saying things against me as a white boy, Mexican woman, I'm going to have your job, and I'll bid on your route next year. We need to do that. Hey, this girl's making anti-white statements, and I'm offended by it. Are you going to do something, management? Get 10 of us guys to walk in there and call it out. But white people are backing up in fear. NBC fired Donald Trump, and I'll tell you what, he's suing them good. As if you can win against NBC. Illegal immigration is destroying this country. Letting the Hispanics take over and run us white people out in Denver city government, in the different city municipalities in the metro area here, and you go into a way station, and any place that's dominated by Hispanics, they are rude and only hiring their own kind. What about affirmative action for me? So affirmative action means that we got to hire all these minorities, but they don't have to follow the same rule. You got it, Toyota. There is more racism generated by the black community and the Hispanic community towards us whites than whites generate towards them, hands down. I've watched it play out myself. A black woman, the week of school letting out, made anti-white statements to me. The reason you don't have any debt is because you're a white guy. Really? I know a lot of white guys and girls that are deeply in debt. So how does that work? She said, well, when you have 3 children like I do, you have 3 children because you married a dipstick black guy that walked out on you and cheated on you, which a lot of black guys do. That's not my fault. That has nothing to do with white dynamic. Everybody blames everybody except themselves. And girls come back on my channel and say, did you ever think that maybe the reason girls don't want you is because you don't look at yourself? I'm looking at myself right now into this camera. I look at myself in the mirror and I don't like what I see in myself sometimes. But how many women do that? You know what women do when they find their faults? I know I'm a bitch and I'm proud of it. Have you seen the bumper sticker on their cars? My other car's a broom. Ha, 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 ha. Me and my pointy witch hat. Really? They're proud of their flaws. They're proud of their loud mouth. They're proud of throwing their weight around. It's all a false sense of confidence that they've been given by feminism. Oh, trolls, did you see that? I just picked my nose. Mark that. Make a comment. At, what is that, 1621, I dug around in there. I have to say that because people do that. I'll reach up and go like that. Why do you clear your throat? Why do you sniff? Why do you do this? Why do you watch my channel if this bothers you? Dumb. I'm getting more bold. Isn't it refreshing? Taking on trolls, taking on feminists, taking on fatties, taking on ethnicities that have been guilty of racism against us white people and calling a spade, and calling out pimple-faced Hispanic girls who think they're all that in a bag of chips because they get laid after guy after guy after guy, but I would never want to look at that face across the breakfast table, and you're rude. And I could look past some of your physical flaws if maybe the heart was nice. We don't even get that luxury anymore. And we got American women parading themselves out there like they are a 5-star restaurant and hotel chain on a dating site. And I can go overseas and they're not putting themselves on dating sites. And the women are 100 times better. No makeup, no bondo, no obesity, pretty, beautiful, nice to me, put their arm on me, hold me, touch me, want to massage me, want to cook for me. And then I come back to this. And what do I get from a woman? Nothing in America. The guy spends all the money on the date. I massage her back. I pick her up. Does she pick me up? Does she pay? Does she rub me? No. Women are the height of selfishness in Western culture. Australia is no exception. You date an Aussie woman, you're going to get a run for your money, and she'll take it all. They're loudmouth, offensive, obnoxious girls down there too. Canadian women, no better. I was in a chat room. I heard them in there. Loudmouth little teasers. UK women. We got Gypsy as a fine example in Aurora, Colorado. But go to the UK. Talk to some of my viewers that live in the UK. Beanie Boy. He'll tell you. They suck. Some of the other European countries, the women are great. Some of the Asian women are great. You go down to Mexico, deep into Mexico, and there's some beautiful, sweet, submissive Mexican women down there. But they come to the United States and they're forever damaged, imprinted. And then they hate all of us. I love the ethnicities that complain about us. And I'm reading something. I'll show it to you one day. It's a diary written in 1860 of a 16-year-old girl whose parents were a lighthouse keeper out in Delaware. Their state was divided against the Civil War. Her father was for freeing the blacks. Her mother hated the blacks. I'm shocked, even reading this, that our country had so much hate towards black people. That the young girl went out on a walk one day and saw 3 drunk men in the middle of the day making revelry, and she came back and says, what are they revelizing in? And the mother says, 3 Negroes were hung today. Really? Can I be honest? That disturbs me. They're partying down because 3 black people were hanged for what? Oh, I know what white society did, but may I remind the Africans, your own people sold you. Your own Muslims sold you to us. So your own house is divided too. I don't like slavery. I don't like the black eye that is on our country, and I don't endorse it, and I feel for you, but it's over now. Now you guys are trying to put a prison around us white people. Your president that you all voted for is very anti-white, and his father makes no bones about it in a book that he published that you can read yourself called us Empire Builders, and he would love to get rid of us. Really? I thought we're against ethnic cleansing black people, but you're okay with eradicating the white guy. And we know the way the Hispanics and the blacks fraternize with each other and all gang up together and say the white guy's a bad guy. Remember that the Constitution of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, that was given you not by blacks or Hispanics. That was given to you by Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Hamilton, Ben Franklin. Our founding fathers were all white. Can I remind you of that? The infrastructure that has been put into place, our highways, roads, our government buildings were built long before they were in the majority in certain pockets of the United States. Can I remind you of that? Can I remind you that I'm Irish and we built the railroads along with the Chinese? I don't believe the blacks were used to build the railroads. They worked on the railroad as a form of punishment and stuff, but the Irish and the Chinese, more than anybody else, built the railroads slave-wise. Everybody's been the victim of hate and racism. When I grew up, it was Dagos and Wops. Italians and Irish were against each other. Polacks, the Japs. I mean, it's always been somebody. But it's the black community you hear the most noise from. Like stinky diapers. Wah! The whole freaking world's got to know how terrible it is for the black community. What about the Jews? What about Bosnia and Herzegovina? What about all these other people that have been ethnically cleansed? And most black people don't even watch that on the evening news, let alone give a damn. It's all about us. And the same with the Hispanic community. They hire their own kind. You ought to see the Hispanic males that drive for the Denver Garbage Sanitation Department. You want to talk about renegades in a commercial truck blasting out of alleys. I told you about my girlfriend and I at the time, years ago, were cleaning out a lady's garage and were told to put the things on the edge of the alley. This truck came across the street laying on the horn. I was trying to move stuff out of the way. They wouldn't wait for me to finish. My girlfriend and I, they ran over the TV. They ran over the boxes of stuff. And I said, "What are you fools doing?" And they get out of the truck and pull the tough man. "Well, in the USA," this is what they said to me, "in the USA, we have the right." I said, "You don't have the right to run over this stuff. We're working for this lady. She owns this property. We're told to put this stuff partially in the alley. We're sorting it, and we're trying to get it out of the way. We didn't know you were coming. Could you give us a minute?" I finally contacted their boss with a detailed description of what they did, and he was Hispanic, and he claims that he dealt with them. I doubt it. I'm watching the Hispanics take over, and they're not playing by the same rules that the white man enacted. They'll speed in the garbage trucks. They'll pull out in front of me. They'll run my stop sign on a school bus, and they all give me that beer look. "Yeah, you're tough, big boy. Big roly-poly guy in a garbage truck with automation. Wow, and you run over stuff." It's a good thing that God has put me in a small body, because if I was 6'4", I'd snap both those boys in half. I am seeing constant negativity from the Hispanic community towards me, and I've been nice to them. I've been tolerant of them, and I see the way they live in neighborhoods. I see what they do in the workplace, and I got to be honest, I'm starting to go shut down this illegal immigration, tell them no more can come. No more. Shut it off and cut it off. China does it. China doesn't want all the white people moving into China. You can't. You can get a job as an expat, but you don't own a darn thing over there. Same with Thailand and the Philippines. They don't want us over there. But we just let everybody come in and destroy and dismantle our Constitution, step all over the white people that gave them the infrastructure, gave them the welfare system, gave them all the perks and benefits they have, and I got to endure all this. We're racist. Denver, Colorado is a very unhealthy community. And the only people who don't see that are those that are living on the head of a pin in their little myopic world, because they got all their comfortable life and that's all they care about. and say Denver's a cultured town because we got art museums and the Botanic. Who freaking cares? That's not what holds a community together. Virtually everybody here is fiercely independent of one another, proud of their right to do whatever they want. It's disgusting. I think I've said enough. Denver, Colorado gets an F for females. Complete epic fail. This is Pacific signing off. Bye-bye.